Welcome to the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright, an exciting thrill ride through the wonderful world of HBCU athletics. Before our trip begins, let's set a few ground rules. First, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Second, hit the like button. Third, please be sure to tell someone else about this show. Now that we've got these things out of the way, it's time for our journey to begin. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride.
Greetings, everyone out there in HBCU FCS football land or just out there, period. Welcome to another episode here on a wild Wednesday night with your boy, Wild Wayne, and I am pleased to be with you once again. It has been a tremendous time, and we are going to celebrate a wonderful slate of games tonight as I will preview, and I've been so busy in the lab, y'all. I got a lot of good stuff for y'all tonight. You know, just say that your boy was in his analytical bag for real this week, okay? So, with all that being said, y'all know what you do. Hit the like button. If you're watching me for the very first time, make sure you subscribe. We're doing some big things here. And of course, as always, as we go through these Wild Wednesdays, make sure that you put your comments in there. You know, if you got some questions, make sure you ask some because, you know, your boy got some answers. What's up, Derek Martin? Good to see you, my guy. All right, so let's get it started, man. Y'all know how I do. I don't waste no time. We're going to get right into it with, we're going to go Big South OVC here to start off. All right. Tennessee State going on the road to take on Southeast Missouri. This is Houck Field, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. This will be on ESPN Plus. Last time they played, this was back in November, and Tennessee State won this game 28-21. Now, the crazy thing about both of these teams is how far they've fallen off. Now, we know why Tennessee State fell off because obviously with Eddie George leaving, a lot of players, a lot of transfers, also some graduations, things of that nature. Reggie Barlow rebuilding the team, doing some things. But SEMO has really fallen off. They were ranked at the end of last year. They were doing some really good things, but now they've had only one win. So you're talking about two teams that badly need a win here in the Big South OVC play. All right. Now, Tennessee State, we know what they've been. They've had some struggles at quarterback. You know, there were some of their bright spots. They've had, you know, some pretty good running back play from Kendrick Grimes. But lately he's been kind of bottled up. So Tennessee State, they've been struggling on offense. They've had, you know, McNair play quarterback. They've had Palmer play quarterback. They've had some struggles. SEMO, they've been struggling with their offense also. You know, they've got a new quarterback. They've got some new personnel. So, you know, they're trying to build things back themselves. Tennessee State last week was just kind of the epitome of how it's been for them lately. Struggles. Lost 31-7 at Eastern Illinois. SEMO, they were off last week, and so they're ready to get things rolling again because, you know, besides Tennessee Tech out there in the Big South OVC, really it's just a battle for second place. So with that being said, I think SEMO in this game, just the fact that it's at home and they didn't play last week, I think that they continue to extend the struggles for Tennessee State on offense. And I'm going to go in a little bit of a low scoring affair. I'm going SEMO getting this one done 28-17. But as I said before about Tennessee State now, I said, and I'm going to say it again. I said this at the beginning of the year. I'm going to say it again. For Reggie Barlow and his group, you better get these boys now because they're going to work out these kinks. I expect them to be a better team at the end of the year. And also, once he starts getting a full cycle to do recruiting and continue to get things built in his image and his likeness, then you're going to see these guys start to strike again. But for right now, Saturday, that just ain't the day for him. What up, Jesse Bell? It just ain't the day for him. All right. So let's just go on. Now, a game that has a lot of intrigue to it. This is the G-Ho game this year. Greetings from Waldorf, Maryland, man. What's up, man? Good to see you tonight. This is the G-Ho game this year. Greatest homecoming on earth, as they like to say there in Greensboro. South Carolina State, they come in 3-3, fresh off of handling their business last week, 49-6 over Savannah State for their homecoming affair. They will go on the road and play a familiar foe and a rival at that, North Carolina A&T, who checks in at 1-5. Now, North Carolina A&T last week, man, it's just been kind of how it's been for North Carolina A&T lately. It's just been, we'll show you a few teasers. We'll play a little bit. We'll get you on the edge and then find a way to not get it done at the end. They led 34-21 in the third quarter last week at William and Mary. And then William and Mary went on and scored the last 17 points of the game. Okay. Last year, this was 45-25 when it was in Orangeburg. Okay. This game will be on Flow College Sports, 1 p.m. Eastern, very, very early there at Truist Stadium. Okay. Now, South Carolina State, we know how they operate, right? Stubblefield and Atkins have pretty much been a 2-quarterback system here a little bit lately. Now, what I kind of expect to see happen is I expect to see that South Carolina State at some point is going to make a commitment to a starter, because this is the last game that South Carolina State has before they go into MEAC play. So next week they have a bye, and then they start that MEAC opener against Norfolk State, okay, on the road for Norfolk State's homecoming on the 25th. So for North Carolina A&T, Kevin White has definitely been really, really good for them at quarterback, right? If you've seen them earlier, they had a lot of different guys play. They had some injuries, had some inconsistencies, but Kevin White has been able to keep them in games, right? Defensively, they still have their challenges, but Sean Gibbs, he's got these guys playing hard for him. Now, I know I've seen a lot of chatter throughout in the space that said that, South Carolina State will go in there and spank these boys around because, they spanked them around last year when it was in Orangeburg. But to me, I think that North Carolina A&T, they've got a lot more fight than that. I kind of think that they're going to find ways to play harder and keep this game a little bit closer for a while. And then I think in the second half, I think that what's going to end up happening is what Dave said. Maybe closer than expected. Got South Carolina State pulling away late. And you know what, Dave? We think so much alike on this because I see it the same way. And I've got South Carolina State going in there and winning this game 35-21. Okay? I got a 35-21. And Pop, you said by 10. Okay, yeah. We got SC State by 10. Yeah. So I got this 14-point margin. I think that North Carolina A&T, the emotions of playing at home on homecoming, and you know what happened to them last year on their homecoming. Last year was 59-17 when they played Hampton. So they're definitely looking to get some redemption and play a little bit better on their showcase game. But I got South Carolina State Bulldogs getting themselves to 4-3 with a bye week, ready to get into that MEAC play. All right, now in the CAA also, we've got the Campbell Fighting Camels. All right, checking in with 1 win and 5 defeats, 1-1 in CAA play. They take on the Hampton Pirates, who are 2-4. They're 0-2 in the CAA. Hampton, we know, flying high after that win last week in the Battle of the Bay. It was a full 4-quarter effort. They fell behind by 11 points twice. And then they got some turnovers. They took advantage of some penalties, and they had a few good explosive plays, and they also found some things in their passing game, right? So they found that last week. Now, this is Armstrong Stadium there in Hampton, 2 p.m. in the East, on Flo College. They played 2 years ago. Campbell won 30-27 down there in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina. All right. Campbell, for all of their struggles with the record, as it may say, they have played some pretty close games against some other opponents. They were close against Furman. They've had some hard luck finishes in fourth quarters. We know about how Hampton has been. They played a really good opener, played a stinker of the second game against Elizabeth City State, then got blown out in the Battle of the Real HU. And then they had Elon. They had a few of these different games sprinkled in the mist. This game right here for Hampton, this is, if you look at their schedule moving ahead, this is one of these games that you think that they have to get. Okay. And here, I'll show you their schedule, because when you look at what they got coming ahead, Villanova, Monmouth, I just got done talking to you about Monmouth last week. They're ranked. Maine, there's a chance with Maine, because North Carolina A&T played Maine tough. William and Mary, maybe. Rhode Island, So, if you look at this thing, they might have maybe two realistic chances on this schedule past Campbell to get a win, okay? So I expect the sense of urgency for Hampton to really, really be up, because they want to build up on that momentum that they had from winning last week. Campbell, for everything that Campbell is one of those teams too that's kind of the same way that Hampton is. They're a little bit up and down, and then, when they're good, but when they're not, they're not. I think this is going to be a very close game. Real close. And I got Hampton finding a way to pull this thing out 31-28. Adam Spencer, you might be happy with that one. 31-28 Hampton, I got pulling this one out in a close one right down there in Armstrong Stadium. And that'll get them their first CAA victory of the season. All right. Now we go to the MEAC. All right. Now, shout out to Delaware State. Delaware State, I just talked to you. If you saw my show Sunday night, I talked to you about how strong their effort was when they played Monmouth. This is one of these games for them. This is their homecoming. They're playing Southern Connecticut. Southern Connecticut is a Division II team with a 1-3 record. This game will be at 1 p.m. This is the first time they've ever played. It'll be on ESPN Plus. Okay. So, real bottom line here for Delaware State. You just want to get healthy in this game, because you got a bye week next week. And then when you get off your bye week, then you get into MEAC play, getting it all cranked up as you make a trip to Durham on the 25th to take on North Carolina Central. So it's very imperative for them to find, as you see right there, at North Carolina Central. And then they've got the big one with Vic and Jackson, Deshaun Jackson going against each other. But you can see past this point, then you get into the meat of the schedule, which is the MEAC gauntlet. So for Delaware State in this game, and I asked Coach Jackson on Monday during the MEAC coaches call, I said, what do you need to see from your club to prepare yourself ahead of that 5-game sprint at the end? He says, we just got to get some consistency. We need to build some consistency on defense. Last week, they gave up 636 yards. Now, yeah, they lost 49-38, but defensively, they're going to need to be a lot better if they want to try to make good on what this good start has been when they get into that 5-week sprint. So he said he's looking to build some consistency and build some confidence by getting a big win ahead of that bye week. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to get this win big. 52-14 is what I have it as. But I'll say this for Delaware State. Deshaun Jackson is no joke right now. He's got those guys believing. His staff believes. The players believe. The way they're running the ball is exceptional. 291 yards on average running the game. Now, if they get some things going in their passing game, look out for these boys to be something potential when you get into the MEAC play. They are, I know some people say they like to use dark horse, they like to use sleeper. Listen, I'll just say dark horse because most folks by now, they're awake to Delaware State. They know these guys can play football, okay? They get some defense and get it and start doing something on that side of the ball, look out for these guys. But this week, whoop these guys, get on your bye week, and get yourself ready for North Carolina Central. End of story. And we got another snooze fest here on homecoming. Man. Now, Morgan State, they've been taking their share of punches all week, and for good reason. I showed you Sunday night, and if you hadn't seen, the goings and the comings, you saw that they got beat by Georgetown on a Hail Mary, okay? 49-yard Hail Mary at the end of the game, and that kept them from being 3-3, and now it's showing as 2-4, okay? These guys, Morgan State, you can't put your finger on them. And again, MEAC Mike, if you're watching this, if you watch this replay, or if you check in here later, listen, man, you guys better start figuring some stuff out, man, because you guys are running out of time. You're running out of time to get it together. You guys have been close, then you blow it, and then you struggled, and you look at their schedule right here, right? They should have beat Towson. They turned the ball over a bunch of times against South Alabama in the beginning. Okay, they no-showed against Toledo. Central State, that 27-0, that was a struggle win. They needed to block a field goal in return near the end to beat Miles in the Circle City Classic. And they blew that game last week against Georgetown. They had it. Okay, so now you look, this is where they are because you're out of time now. You're going to beat Virginia Lynchburg, but you are who you are at this point. You're going to go on your bye week, and then, this is pretty much the last of what we can possibly see from Damon Wilson. So any kind of, resolve that they have, you better see it all taken out this week against Virginia Lynchburg, and then get yourself ready because you're going to go play Howard. All right? Enough said. 55-14. They're going to take care of them. Now, if they struggle in this game and they make it look a little bit closer than what it should, I got nothing else for you. Nothing else for anything Morgan State the rest of the season probably. Okay? But just whoop these boys and get on down the road to your bye week. All right. Now we go over to Norfolk State. Norfolk State, 1-5 on the year, man. 1-5. Going to play Wofford, who's 0-5. Now, Wofford's 0-5 is not an 0-5 that you think it is. They've lost 4 of those 5 games by 1 score. And the one game that they didn't lose by 1 score was a payment game, okay? So one of the games, MEAC Mike, you're there, man. I just talked about you guys. All right, hold on. Let me back it up. MEAC Mike, this is what I have for you guys this week, MEAC Mike. All right, salute to you, bruh. All right, now back to this game. Norfolk State. All right, 1-5. Ready for this? Here's how it's been for these guys, okay? They have 12 turnovers on the season. They've turned the ball over 12 times, and they've only taken it away 5 times. So they're a -7 in the turnover margin. Last week, they committed 17 penalties for 158 yards. 17 penalties for 158 yards. Okay. I brought this up to Coach Mike Vick on the MEAC coaches call, and I said to him, I said, hey, Coach, I said at this point, I said, you guys have had, penalties, you've had turnovers, you've had all these different things that have held you back. I said, even when you guys have had offensive output, like they did last week, they scored 34 points in the loss. They had to lead 21-10 in the second quarter, right? And then they started turning the ball over and doing things. Norfolk State guys, they have some talent. They can play on offense. But the problem with these guys is that they just cannot get out of their own way. Every single time when they start rolling, they turn it over. Every time when they start rolling, they get a penalty. It's all these different things that's led to them being 1-5. I promise you, they could be so much better than this. Now, this is Gibbs Stadium, Spartanburg, 1:30, first time they're ever playing. It's going to be on ESPN Plus. Now, I just said to you before I talk about Norfolk State, Wofford, 4 of their 5 losses have been by 1 score. And these guys have been playing really hard. And I just, as much as I want to go with Norfolk State, as much as I believe that Norfolk State could be something, I just think that they're going to go to their bye week with another loss. I got Wofford beating them by a close one at home, 27-24. Yeah, man, that Norfolk State would be 1-6 going into their bye week. Nobody would have thought about that. But, I'm going to be honest with you. Mike Vick, I know a lot of people want to place a lot of this stuff in his shoes, and, he's the head coach. And I know some people say that Mike Vick is out of his element. He doesn't look – listen. Mike Vick can't do nothing about when you turn the ball over 12 times and you don't get it, and you only forced 5 turnovers yourselves. He can't do anything about getting 17 penalties, getting 10, 11 penalties a game. Can't do anything about that. Can't do anything as what MEAC Mike says. They average 400 yards a game on offense, and they don't allow about 600, but they give up a lot of yards. Mike Vick can't do anything about that. But one thing that he needs to do is that, okay, this is a close game. Maybe they do win this game, but when they get on their bye week, he's got to be able to figure it out about how to get these guys, to start playing with more discipline. Because this is what it looks like. When they come off that bye after this game, they got South Carolina State coming to them. It's homecoming. And you see what it is. That gauntlet, in the MEAC, it ain't going to be no joke this year. There ain't going to be no easy wins, no weeks off in the MEAC this year. All 5 games that everybody's going to play, it's going to be tough, okay? So this 1-5, if they go 1-6, they could easily, listen, I don't want to just sit here and be, I don't know if it's really, really out of the possibility that these boys can end up going 1 for the season. Seriously. Now, y'all in the comments, if you're looking at this, tell me if I'm tripping that they could possibly go 1 for if they don't win this game this week. I hate it. Hate to say that. But they could win 1 game if they don't win this game this week and they don't get it together after that bye week. But I believe in you, Mike Vick. I believe in you. Just not this Saturday. All right. Now let's go to Howard. Now, Howard, I've been really, really impressed with Howard. Very impressed with Howard. And all you fans out there, you should be impressed with him too. I was one of those that said at the beginning of the year, I didn't really think anything was expected of them. I thought that their offense was not going to be very good. I was like, but listen, Howard has found a way to run the ball, and they play really, really tough defense. Right? They rally to the ball. They play very tough. They play very hard. Coach Larry Scott has these guys playing very, very hard. Where some people thought that the Howard win over FAMU in the opener was a little bit of a fluke. Nah, they backed that stuff up, man. They've had 3 wins, and the one of the losses that they had was against Temple, which was a payment game. But the game that they played 2 weeks ago against Richmond, that was one that they let get away. They led 12-0 midway through the 4th quarter, and then 2 interceptions turned that game around. They lost 13-12. They really should be 4-1 right now. Now they go and they play a Sacred Heart team that's already beaten Norfolk State 31-28. They beat Delaware State 35-31 when they played 2 weeks ago. Right there, Campus Field, Fairfield, Connecticut. And like he said, Howard, beware of the officials. You best believe they need to be aware of the officials, because remember, that was the game that Caden Bennett, the quarterback of Delaware State, was ejected from the game in the first quarter just for high-fiving fans after scoring a touchdown. All right, so they played last year. Howard won the game there in D.C. 21-14. This game will be early, 1 p.m., be on ESPN+. Sacred Heart, they play really, really good too on offense. And they're pretty opportunistic on defense. That place up there, Campus Field, that's a tough place to play. Larry Scott said that we got a 6-hour bus ride up there, and they know that they need to bring it. Listen, as much as I really, really love everything that Howard has done this year, I think that Sacred Heart is going to be able to expose the fact that they have deficiencies in the passing game. Because if they start loading up and they stop that run and force Tariq Starks to be a passer, that's where they could be in for it. But also Howard's defense is strong enough to keep them in any game. You know, they're really good, led by Noah Miles and crew. I got Sacred Heart winning a lower scoring game, 24-21. I think Howard fights and they makes this thing a full 4-quarter effort. But give me the Pioneers to outlast them 24-21 at home. All right. So that is MEAC so far, and I'm going to get into the SWAC starting now. Now, what I need everybody to do as I get ready to go into the SWAC, I need you to hit the like button. And if you're watching me for the very first time, make sure that you subscribe because this is great. And we getting ready to have us some fun, y'all, here in the SWAC as we move forward. All right. Down in Bragg Memorial Stadium is where we start with the SWAC. You got North Carolina Central checking in at 4-2. They're coming off of a bye week. And those Eagles, after their bye week, they've had pretty good output on offense the last 3 games. They've been over 50 points each time. And they've been racking up a lot of yards and developing a whole lot of confidence. And you're speaking about the confidence that North Carolina Central has? Well, you know, Florida A&M is on the other side of that confidence meter. They're 1-3. And last time they saw the field, they were blown out 42-14 on that very field down there in Bragg Memorial Stadium, where this game will be on this game will be on HBCU Go. Forgive me for those that are scoring at home. This game will be on HBCU Go, 3 p.m. Eastern. Last time they played was 2019 when FAMU was still in the MEAC. They won that outing 28-21. North Carolina Central, man, these boys rolling on offense. Their offensive line has been opening holes and moving dudes. Walker Harris has been throwing the ball to whoever. You want to throw it to Chance Peterson, throw it to him. Throw it to the tight end, throw it to anybody. You know, defensively, they're still trying to find their places. But guess what? The way that their offense has been playing, we ain't really had to think about the way their defense has been playing. Now, after this week, North Carolina Central gets a bye week again. That's what comes when you play week 0. They're going to have to find a way to figure some things out on defense. But in this game, Florida A&M, I'm going to just say it like this, man. I'm going to say this in the words of what Coach Colsey said last time they played. And I asked him about this Monday. He said, we are going to turn it around. He said, if we don't turn it around, my ass won't be here. That's exactly what he said after they lost to Alabama State. So he said the pressure is on himself for them to turn this around. Now, last week, you got a reprieve because that Georgia football classic didn't allow you to get on the field and play. But even with all that stuff being said, man, when I see Trey Oliver get on these press conferences every week, and I see the look in that dude's eyes, dude looks like a straight up Stone Cold Killer. And Stone Cold Killer is what I'm going to see when they get down there to Bragg Stadium. Give me the Eagles big, man, 45-21. And that 21 for me is really kind of like garbage time points. I mean, because the way I'm looking at things for Florida A&M, man, they got quarterback issues. RJ Johnson has been inconsistent, if I can say that to be, as polite. Thad Franklin is supposed to be your bell cow at running back. You ain't really seen that yet. The defense, that you talked about during the offseason, you said that Davion Westmoreland, really hadn't called his name much. Nayron Jenkins, some of these dudes that were supposed to show up, man, you ain't heard from them. Okay, so FAMU, if you got any kind of pride left in that tank, you better come on out here and show it. But I don't believe so, man. This is more so about the way North Carolina Central is cooking on offense. I mean, cooking with gas. And I kind of think that they're going to get themselves into a nice little track meet and get rolling. And man, y'all crazy here in these comments, man. She said, Ms. Mack said, Man, fam will change QBs. They better. Said, can you say? Yeah. Said, full throttle. Homegrown. Yeah. It's going to take them a while to develop a win streak, man. Cozy seat is on fire. Said, the U-Haul is already at Bragg. Y'all comical, man. Y'all keep up with it, though. Y'all keep it going, man. But yeah, North Carolina Central, big for me, man. Big. All right. Oh, Lord. Did I really say that? Yeah, I said it, man. Westgate Christian. Lord, this is UAPB's homecoming. Down there in Pine Bluff, 3 p.m. Eastern, first time never playing. SWAC TV. Listen, man. I pray for whoever has to call this game on SWAC TV, dog. I do, man. I pray for this, man. Cause listen, bruh, y'all better have y'all you're prepared, like filler time, commentary. You need to have all of it. Get you some, have your drinks up there in the booth, have all that little stuff, man. Like you said, why, man? SWAC TV, why? Why are we doing this? First of all, man, UAPB, what the hell are we doing here? What are we doing here, UAPB? I mean, you got homecomings, man, where teams are playing folks. I already showed you a couple other ones, earlier in the show where we had some stuff. But man, this right here, this is trash. Listen, man, Westgate Christian, they're 1-5. Their one win was against a community college team. I am dead serious too. I am not lying to you when I say that they beat a community college team. It was a Louisiana community college squad that they beat for their one win. Okay. And the other 5 games that they played, all whoopings. This right here, UAPB, man, if these boys score on you, man, they bet not score. Bet not score. Look, it said that sounds like a high school. It said that's a community Christian college. UAPB is playing a doggone high school. Yeah. Said never heard of this team when I live in Houston. That's funny, man. When I said they beat a Louisiana junior community college team, said so they beat Southern. That's funny. He said UAPB needs to be prosecuted for this. Man, even use the big word, Mal. I'm gonna leave. Y'all got me dying, man. In these comments, man. Oh my Lord. This is my man right here. I was waiting for you to say this, man. He said, okay, I'm tired of this. Wasn't this much outrage when the first time somebody played Lincoln? I hate this game too, but it is what it is at this point. Listen, man. I know. It's your athletic director that chose to schedule this game, bro. I get it. But listen, man, UAPB folks, man, UAPB athletic director, you scheduled Lincoln already. You played Lincoln, and you got this one. Come on, man. Let's come on now. Let's come on. Let's just move on. All right, I've had enough jokes on this one. 63-0. Yeah. This is their homecoming. Said, I won't be mad if for the bad camera angles this game. This shouldn't even be televised. Listen, the only people who will be watching this on SWAC TV will be the few parents that really want to see their son get in the game. That's all that's going to be watching this, man. That's bad. Said, is this a money game for the other team? Yes. Yeah. It said, I said, AD trying to keep his job too. I get it, man. I get it. 63-0, man. They better not score. All right. Oh, man, they just keep coming now. They just keep coming. Lincoln. Okay, now, listen. It has been said that Lincoln is going to play this game. They canceled their last two. Well, they canceled one and they had the second one postponed. Okay. They were supposed to play Davenport last week. It was postponed. All right. Last time Lincoln saw the field, they lost 90-0 at Idaho State. 90-0. All right. Alcorn, we know what it's been for these boys the whole year. Right? He said Lincoln may not show up. That so far they said that they're gonna show up. Okay, I hope for these boys. Said that's too far a trip to Mississippi. Well, listen, man, this is just in. If they say that's a far trip to Mississippi, they're gonna stay in Mississippi because next week they play Mississippi Valley for their homecoming. Okay, and then 2 weeks later they're gonna play. And then the week after that they're gonna play Prairie View for Prairie View's homecoming. Okay, so. This is yeah. If they do play this game, Alcorn, you're gonna get you plenty of players, you're gonna get you plenty of time, you're gonna do this. This is y'all homecoming. SWAC TV, again, this is another one of those games. Just get it, just move it on. And said, yeah, they collecting them checks. And said, no call, no show. Said, yeah. They coming because they not afraid of Alcorn. That's funny. He said, yeah, they had a lot of injuries against Idaho. Yeah. Listen, man. Listen. Just get it done. Just get it done. 42-12. I got 12 because, listen, Pine Bluff, when they played them, it was 34-8. I think this is 42-12 mainly because I think Alcorn's going to play a lot of guys trying to find, some continuity, trying to see who really can contribute once they get back into that SWAC. So, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, they on a homecoming whooping tour. Yeah, next week, homecoming Valley. Week after that, homecoming PV. So yeah, collecting checks and taking ass whoopings. So let's move on. All right, speaking of homecomings. All right, so I'm actually driving out in the morning, heading on down to my alma mater, Alabama A&M, and what a tough week it was for my boys last week. They're really banged up now, and they really need to get their bye week, which will come next week. They really need this bye week next week. So Quad Brown, he was injured, probably not going to play in this game. All right. Valley, we know last week they did not play last week. So last time they played, they gave a winnable game away at home against Texas Southern. Right. So last time they played, it was the end of the season last year in Valley's season finale. And that was Alabama A&M won 49-35. A&M won 49-35. This game makes me really, really nervous. And the reason why this game makes me really, really nervous is because Valley, they had a bye week. And, the way their quarterback, Josh Brown, I got to say this, Josh Brown is a really good player for them. Giving these guys their props. Josh Brown can play. And Valley, they've contended when they've played SWAC opponents. They contended hard when they played Southern, and that they really should have beaten Texas Southern. Okay. So this game makes me nervous because, I think given the fact that we're beaten up and, Valley's going to be very, very motivated. And yeah, Valley is definitely looking to catch us slipping. And if we ain't motivated and we don't come out hard, they could clip us. This is where I'm going, though. I see it being close. I know a lot of my A&M people that are watching this and may watch this, you want to blow them out, but I kind of think that Valley going to come in and play us. I think Josh Brown's going to come in and he's going to do some things. I think Buck's going to have these boys ready to play, ready to roll. But yeah, I think it's going to be a one-score game, man. I hate it. Hate to say it. But yeah, I got A&M pulling a close one. And we're almost close there, Dave. You got 35-24. I'm going 31-24. So, we gotta get healthy though, y'all. That's really what it's about for us. We got to get on this bye week, get healthy, and then we have the Classic after it. So there you go. Moving on now. Let's go on down to Daytona. Big one here for Southern. Really big for Southern. And the reason why it's huge for Southern, because next week, they win this game. Next week, Prairie View comes to them for their homecoming. And if they can get out of this one with a win, they'll have a chance to get into first place in the SWAC West. After everything that Southern's been through here in the early going. Last week, they had a bye week and, had another chance to try to figure out what they can do. Right? Bethune-Cookman, last week, they played at Alabama State. They lost 52-35. They also lost their quarterback, Cam Ransom, early in that game. Don't know if he's going to be able to play. If he's not, obviously, Tim McClain's going to be the starter. Okay? Last year, they played down there in Baton Rouge, and you might remember most of these folks. It was a 5-overtime game. Southern pulled it out. It was one of their close ones that they won last year. Okay? So, 4 losses per team, each with a loss in SWAC play. Bethune-Cookman needs this one because they want to establish some additional mojo. That Raymond Woody needs this one too for his personal resume. Right? And I already told you what Southern needs it for. Now, let's get into the notes. Southern, they're averaging 15 points a game on offense. We know what it's been. It's been a struggle. 15 points a game on offense. They changed coordinators. Coach McNair called the plays last game. They left some meat on the bone a little bit in that game against Jackson State in certain plays. Okay. They're allowing 36 points per game on defense. Now, some of that, we know what it is. They've been giving up a lot of yards in different spots when, typical places where you don't see Southern teams give up yards. Now, they're allowing 244 yards in the air passing. A lot of that average got bumped up by Jacoby and Morgan throwing for 337 last game. They're averaging 178 yards on the ground that they allow rushing, right? So, questions in this one for Southern. Can they keep up if this game is a shootout? Do they have enough offense if this game becomes a shootout? My question to that, my answer to that, I don't think so. I don't think that Southern can keep up with these boys if it becomes a shootout. And also, can they win by just running the ball? Maybe. Because, when I get to the other side of the coin here, you look at the offensive output. Last 4 games, man, they've been putting it up. Last week, they had 569 of offense. The total yards that they've allowed has been a freeway of lanes. You can get a lot of yards on this defense. That's why I say that maybe Southern could win this game if they struggle throwing and could win by running the ball. Because you look at it, they're allowing 205 yards rushing. Now, the question for Bethune-Cookman is, can they outscore Southern if their defense doesn't get stops? That's the question. Can they outscore Southern if they don't get stops? So I see what people are saying. Yes, Chris Silas, this is in Daytona. And then Dave said, no, Wayne. He said, Data might not have enough passing plays, period. I get you. Southern would be a fool to try and keep the ball in the air. They can't stop a nosebleed. Yeah, Holly should finish north of 200. I like that, Jay Stocks. I like where you're thinking. I like what you're thinking on that. Because here's my thing, guys, and everybody. I know that Southern has struggled big time on offense. But last week, they had a bye, okay? And they had a chance to, look at some things. And I do believe that Southern defensively can wake up some in this game, especially if Cam Ransom does not play. Now, when Cam Ransom is in there, it's a lot different than when Tim McClain plays. So I'm going on the assumption that Tim McLean is going to be the starting quarterback for Bethune. And I'm also believing that Holly has to get more carries in the run game. The dude is just too good. I have to give that dude the ball at least 25 times. I'd give it to him 30 times if I could, right? I'll just run it, pound it, and just see if they can stop us. And then if you're able to run the ball, then guess what, man? You can get that play action game going. You can complete a pass every once in a while. So for me, I'm going to say, given the sense of urgency that Southern has in this one, give me the Jags close on the road, 28-24. I could be wrong here, but I went back and forth a few times, but I gotta think that Southern, with their sense of urgency, knowing that they need to win this game to have a chance for next week, I'm gonna go with Southern. And said has Woods been cleared to come back? So it was asked on Monday during the coaches call, and they said that he's been practicing. He hasn't. They didn't give a word if he was cleared by the doctors yet. Hopefully he can come back because he's their best QB. So this one I went back and forth both ways. And I see it both ways, but I'm gonna go Southern in this one against my own intuition, my own judgment, based off of the fact that I think that these boys try to run it a lot more. And if they do, yeah, give me Southern just this one time here. All right, now let's go down to Grambling. This is homecoming for Grambling. They're in the hole, okay? You got Texas Southern coming off of their best game of the year last week, 51-7 over their beaten UAPB. So they check in at 2-3 and 2-1 there in SWAC play. They've won their last two games in a row. Grambling, they had a bye last week. And last time they hit the field, they were being harassed. ZT says was being harassed around there by a pass rush by Prairie View. And also they were confusing them, dropping 8 in coverage a lot. And he threw 3 interceptions. He also threw the ball 43 times. And that's something that Mickey Joseph said, that's just not what we want. That's not our offense. All right. So this is a nighttime affair. This is going to be on ESPN Plus. Last time they played last year in Houston, Texas Southern won this game 24-17. This game, man, I'm seeing a lot of different things, a lot of things that people have been saying back and forth about this game. Because Texas Southern, they run hot, cold. You think that you got them figured out. You think that they're doing some things, and then the next time they show up and they give you a stinker. Okay, they should have lost that game against Valley. They turned around last week and played awesome. Grambling looked really bad last time they were on the field. And honestly, they haven't really played a complete game yet. You know, the game that they played against East Texas A&M, that was probably, to me, was their best effort so far. I'm willing to bet that Eric Losey, the run game coordinator and offensive line coach, has really, really gotten some things together with them trying to run the ball, because they need to get Trey Bradford going and that running group going. Texas Southern's defense, a lot was said that they're big, they're fast, and all that kind of stuff. I haven't really seen it yet, but if we're going to see it, you're going to see it in this game. This game right here, man, this is big for Texas Southern, obviously, because with one loss on their ledger, they have a chance to, maybe if they can get some help from Prairie View, because Prairie View, they've got some games coming ahead. Texas Southern needs to keep winning. Grambling, you need to just get you some confidence. You get in the winning column, maybe you can start getting some things going and get you a run together. Things weird seem to happen in the hole, especially at night. Give me Grambling close. The only reason why I said things happen really weird at night in the hole. Listen, I think I'm just going to believe that Grambling is going to get their act, and they're going to find a way to pull this one together. I think they'll have some offense, and I think defensively they'll show up too. Hard-hitting game, though, man. It always is when you get these two together. I got Grambling. All right, now we get into the creme de la creme, as they like to say. The big finale of the show. And this is why you love SWAC football. It's for days like this. The ultimate showdown for SWAC glory in the city of Jackson. Alabama State, 4-1, 2-0 in the SWAC. At the 14th ranked team in the FCS, Jackson State, also 4-1, 2-0, playing right there in the vet. 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. ESPNU is the network that this will be on. You get Jay Walker and you get Tiffany Green. Homecoming down there in Jackson. Last time they played, this was a tremendous slugfest when they played last year. They're in Montgomery. Jackson State won the East. Right there on that very field there in Montgomery, 16-10. Now, I got lots of info for y'all, so stick with me today. Let's go through the tail of the tape, shall we? I told y'all Wild Wayne was in his bag this week, man. I got y'all fully together, because here's what's the difference of my show here and versus some of the others, man. Some of these others that get in there, they just get to talking. Well, I think they're going to do this. They're going to no. Wild Wayne said, let me go ahead on and let me present the facts in front of y'all so y'all can see some numbers. All right, rush offense. You see the Jackson State, they run for 269 a game. That is an astounding number of yards on the ground. Alabama State, not too shabby. Last two games, they've run for over 300 yards on the ground. Rush defense. You see that Alabama State, they've been giving up some rush yards now. 181 per game. Okay. Jackson State has been pretty stingy against that run. All right, only allowing 115. Passing offense, not too far from each other, 237 to 212. Pass defense, Alabama State allowing 213 in the air. And then you see 195 in the case of Jackson State. Scoring offense, both have been lighting up the scoreboard. 40 points a game for Alabama State. They've scored at least 30 in all five. You've got Jackson State scoring 35, including 57 last week. And then scoring defense. Alabama State, they'll give up a few points here and there. You know that, 23 points per game. And then also Jackson State allows 18. All right, so that's the tail of the tape a little bit there on offense. Now, let's go a little bit more into the intangibles here, y'all. Okay. And Alvin Moore, I see what you said. I see your question here, Alvin Moore. He said, how would you compare their schedules? I got you. I'm coming up on that. Okay, so Alabama State, they've taken the ball away, and Jackson State, they both have taken the ball away 6 times. Okay, they forced 6 turnovers. Okay, there's 3 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles for both. Okay, giveaways. Alabama State has only turned the ball over 3 times. They have not thrown an interception yet. That's right. They have not thrown an interception in 5 games. All right. And then Jackson State, they've only turned the ball over 5 times themselves. They've thrown 3 interceptions and they've fumbled it twice. So the turnover differential, you've got both teams in the positive. Alabama State's a +3. Jackson State's a +1. Now, here's something that makes a big difference sometimes. All right. It hasn't made a difference yet for Jackson State, but in these big games, this is where this stuff really comes into play. The penalty average. Alabama State's only had 7 penalties on average per game, and Jackson State, 11 per game on average. Okay. They've had 55 penalties in 5 games. Okay. Regardless if, everything's a penalty or not, according to the eye, or if it's a shaky penalty, they're still called penalties. Okay. So they've averaged 11 penalties per game. Definitely got to do better than that. Third down percentage, because that's going to come into play in this game as well. 57% third down percentage conversion rate for Alabama State, and 50% for Jackson State. I was really surprised when I saw that number being 50%. But, that's okay because, that can be a little bit skewed too, because if you're getting your business done on first and second down, third downs, tend to not really matter so much there. But that's something to just keep in mind. Red zone offense, okay? Alabama State has been pretty stout and solid when they get in that red zone. When they get down there, they've been converting it almost every single time. 18 out of 20 is amazing. 18 for 24 for Jackson State, okay? Now, some of this was, you get stopped on, downs, you turn the ball over, you miss a field goal, all that kind of stuff. Red zone defense, pretty good red zone defense for both teams also, okay? Red zone defense for Jackson State, that is. But we'll go with all this. As you guys can see, these are a little bit of the tail of the tape on that, okay? Turnovers, and penalties. That's the theme there. Now, let's get into a little bit of intangibles here. Now, this is some of the things that I really believe, and I'll explain this stuff. Okay, quarterback. I got them both getting check marks equally because Andrew Body, we know who he is. We know he's a dual threat. We know he's evolved. We know what he can do as a passer, and we know what he can do as a runner. Okay, and he commands the offense. We know Jacobian Morgan has been on a heater. Last 2 weeks, over 300 yards passing, thrown for multiple touchdowns, and he's also been running for some yards. Okay, so check marks to both quarterbacks. Offensive line, these are the two best offensive lines in the SWAC. The two best offensive lines in the SWAC to me. 75 Cam Thomas on the tackle for Alabama State, and DeAndre Towns Blue. These are two really, really good offensive linemen that anchor those good offensive lines. And this makes a big difference because when you look at those rushing yards I showed you before, these good offensive lines have a lot to do with it. Plus, big shout out to Manny Ramirez, your offensive line coach and your co-offensive coordinator with those block schemes. That makes this. So the two best offensive lines in the SWAC. Now, running backs, this was a little bit close here, y'all, because Alabama State, they got a stable of backs. They've got at least 5 guys that can run that rock, okay? 5 guys that can run that rock. But I give the edge to Jackson State because as good as Jamari Holtzclaw and Legion and some of those guys are for Alabama State and running back, Ahmad Miller just alone is a stud enough that where I give them the edge here. And also, when that offensive line is doing what they do, Ahmad Miller, game changer. Receivers, this is, again, just like the running backs. This is another one of those categories where you look at AJ Harrell, you look at Jalen Jones, and you look at Dylan Jejette. Those are really good receivers there on the other side of Alabama State. But you look at the receivers that Jackson State has, and they just started to get rolling with Savage, and then you saw Dupree get really good last week, and then you got Gardner, and then you also got Rembert, and then Fortillion, he hasn't been in there, but these receivers, I get the edge to Jackson State on the receiver front. Now we go over here, defense. Defensive line is going the way of Jackson State. Alabama State, they got an opportunistic defensive line, but Jeremiah Williams and those guys, they got a better defensive line to me. Now, secondary, this one can go either way. Okay. Now, listen, Cam Salas for me is the best player on defense for both teams in this game. I'm gonna say that right now. Cam Salas is a difference maker for me. And the reason why I say Cam Salas specifically is Cam Salas is not just a guy who can cover. This is a guy who will get down and stick his nose in the run game. He can be an extra defender that you can put in the box against that run game, and he hits. So Cam Salas is a difference maker. So I just want to say that while I say about Keon Lewis and Alabama State secondary, okay? Now, that's not to say that Kamari Rogers isn't very good either. But that's just where I see that ASU got a little bit of better secondary. Linebackers, JSU. Now, kick returning, we know what that is. You choose to kick the ball, kick it off or punt it to Travis Terrell at your own risk. But the other thing where I give them the check mark on the kick returns too is when you don't kick the ball to Travis Terrell, you're giving Jackson State short fields potentially because you're getting these pop-up kicks and all that kind of stuff. So his presence just straight up just changes the game in the kick return game. And also, he's really lethal in punts. Now, field goals, this matters too. Brandon Gilliam has been more consistent this year than Beza. In fact, Beza had to be replaced last game because he's been missing some kicks. So I give the edge to Alabama State there in the kicking game. All right. Now we get over here to coaching. Now, I say this in terms of just like, especially with the big game coaching. TC Taylor, been there, done that, man. Won these big games, been on this stage before. Prepares these boys, right? They don't need no more motivation. Now, this is not throwing no shade to Coach Rob either. Coach Rob is a hell of a defensive mind and a hell of a defensive coach. He's built some stuff. This is really the best offense that he's had rolling since he's been the head coach there at Alabama State. If you had this kind of offense last year, well, never mind. We're hearing this year. But this is the best offense that he's had. Chris Barnett has done a really, really good job. But Chris Barnett is going to really, really, really have to work hard in this game to find some matchups. And I'm definitely going to talk about that a little bit later. I talked about this tandem right here on Sunday night. Rip Kirk, man, last two games in that passing game has been in his bag. And he's going to need to be in his bag again. Because it has not mattered what Southern did, what A&M did, if it was zone coverage, if it was man coverage, did not matter. He was finding the matchups. And then Manny Ramirez with that run game, these guys, that offensive line has been moving folks. So, offense for those guys, keep it rolling. They do really good. So there's check marks for both guys because they do great job. DC, this is no contest to me. Billy Gresham, first year at DC. Billy Gresham has really got to show himself really, really strong this one because they've been giving up some yards, okay? Terenzo Quinn, these are the games that he lives for. And if he was listening to me right now, he probably got a sheepish grin on his face. Probably like, man, I love the fact that he talking about me. Yeah, Terenzo Quinn, I'm talking about you because, in these big games, you tend to have these exotic looks. You got these blitz packages. You got all these different things, man. And Terenzo Quinn, this is another opportunity for you to get in your bag again and show the value that you got. But yeah, coaching definitely goes the way of Jackson State in this one. But Chris Barnett, man, is a dude. He is a dude, and he's going to need to be big, okay? Now let's get to the game keys. All right, I got two more slides here, and then we got the prediction. Game keys. If you're Alabama State, Andrew Body, just use your supporting cast. Because your supporting cast is really good, man. It's good enough. You got running backs, and you got some receivers. And you got a really, really good offensive line, right? Don't try to be Superman. It's okay. If you got to throw a check down, throw a check down. If you see a lane, go get it. But use your supporting cast and be special when you have to, okay? Force Jackson State in the third and long. Eddie Robinson said this week on the coach's call, he said it is important that we win first and second down. Because I showed you early on in this slide the third down conversion percentage. Jackson State is 50% on third downs. But specifically, you want to force them in the third and long. And if you get them in the third downs, get off the field. Okay? Turnovers. You want to force some and don't make any. Because with Jackson State, man, you turn the ball over, these boys, you give them short fields, you give them extra possessions, they're going to make you pay on some of it. Chris Barnett, you got to keep that balanced attack, man. You've been doing really, really well. Last games, you've been running it for over 300 yards. Some games, you've been finding a way to get that thing and throw it in the air. You got to get that balanced attack here, and you got to find some mismatches when they're there, okay? Billy Gresham, I said it there earlier. This is the game where you got to prove your value, big dog. You got to really step up now and get it together here with that defense between you and Coach Rob. And beware of both number 15s. Yeah, 15 on offense. Jacoby and Morgan, you better get to them. And Cam Salas, wherever Cam Salas is, and sorry, Cam, you got a K for Cam. Sorry. Cam Salas, wherever he is, you better find him. He's like a Where's Waldo? Where's 15 in blue? Because wherever he is, you better account for him. Because if you're going to run the ball, truly, he's going to be down there in the box, and you got to put a hat on him. And also, if he's back there roving in center field, you better account for him in coverage. All right? So those are the game keys for Alabama State for me. Now, if you're Jackson State, Jacoby and Morgan, keep the mojo from the past 2 games, man. I ain't saying you got to go out here and throw for 337. I ain't saying you got to go for 305 or whatever. But bottom line is, man, just keep the mojo. Complete passes, man. He's been making the easy checkdowns, and he's been opportunistic when he's had one-on-ones on the outside. He's been making those throws. Okay. And then also he's been opportunistic with running. Obviously, he's been doing his thing. Keep the mojo from the past 2 games. Be you, Jacoby and Morgan. You're good enough. Keep body in the pocket. Southern showed you for a half that you can keep body in the pocket, and you see what happens when you send some pressures and give him multiple looks. When you give him multiple looks and can try to confuse him, get him to start thinking a little bit, right? But you got to try to keep him in the pocket, okay? Penalties, Jackson State. Stop committing so many penalties, because just like TC said, he said you were able to overcome 13 penalties against Southern. But eventually, man, if you keep going to the well too often, you'll get burnt. So stop committing so many penalties. Kirk and Ramirez, keep doing what you're doing, fellas. Balanced attack. Strike when you need to strike, and ball control where you need the ball control. Special teams, you got to make some kicks, man. You change kickers, that got better, but you got to make some kicks. Because if you are called on to make some field goals, you need to make them. Because guess what? You miss a field goal, it's just like a turnover. And punish Alabama State if they kick the ball at Terrell. Travis Terrell, if they kick the ball to you, man, you got to make them pay. And also, man, control that rushing attack. And you got to be sound in pass coverage. Because here's the thing. If there's going to be some struggles throwing the ball, then the Hornets are going to lean on that rushing game. So that's what it is. Those are the keys. Okay, everybody. So with all that being said, who does Wild Wayne pick? So in this game, man, I got to go Jackson State 38-28. And I'm going to leave that right there for a second as I take a sip of water. Reactions, please. Reactions, please. Reactions to everyone. Say what you want to say. I got 38-28, though. And the reason why I'm going 38-28 is because of all the stuff that I said. When you talk about, I heard some people say, well, they got to control the line of scrimmage. Listen, these are, like I said, these are the 2 best offensive lines in the SWAC. This is more of a Jackson State. You get these boys off the field and wear them down. That's really where I'm at. I think Jackson State can wear them down. Okay. I really believe that Alabama State is going to play really well in this game, though. This is not one of those games that I see Jackson State going and running away and hiding, but this is where it is for me, man. I just really believe that just given the stakes of the game, I think that Alabama State's going to come out with some aggression. They're going to really try to fight. They're not going to be intimidated with this environment. They're not going to be intimidated. Yeah, look, he said, Avis said, wow, I can't believe he chose Jackson State. Listen, man, I'm no dummy, bro. I'm no dummy. He said, I'm flabbergasted. He said, you had A&M beating us, but you picking us to beat Bama State. Listen, man, I had my reasons last week. But, man, in this game, it's just like, look, like I said on Sunday night on my show, man, that team, that Jackson State team that showed up to Mobile, that was a different team than the one that showed up to Southern. That team that showed up in Mobile, man, those boys had an edge. And there was a focus there that said, man, we coming here to dominate and we coming here to execute. And like I said, if that same team with that same edge shows up on Saturday, that's the outcome for me. But I believe Alabama State, too, with the fact that, listen, they're the underdog in this game. And, they're on the road and it's going to be a hostile environment. But I still believe that they're going to come out. If you want to talk about this game in, in boxing terms, this is more like Alabama State. You just survived those early rounds. You survive those early rounds and you throw some punches yourself and you find a way to make this a 12-round battle. And that's really what it's about, man. But what I'm hoping that this represents the best of HBCU football. I hope when the casual watcher shows up and just flipping channels to ESPNU on Saturday, I hope they have to stop and say, man, I really would like to be watching Oklahoma and Texas right now, but or Indiana or in Oregon right now. But damn, this is a game. And man, look at that crowd. Look at those pom-poms. Look at the energy in there. Listen to the band playing. That's what I want to see down there in Jackson, man. Nothing but energy and great football. So, yeah, I got Jackson State winning this game 38-28. All right. And yeah, live long and prosper. All right. So coming to the end of the show tonight, everybody who's watching, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're watching me for the first time, subscribe. Okay. Last week. I took it on the chin with Alabama A&M, man. My alma mater. Also took it on the chin with UAPB, man. I thought UAPB was going to play a better game last week. That shocked everybody. But, I went 8-2. It's not bad. I got Georgetown, even though I didn't see them doing it on a Hail Mary. I also picked Hampton. So my season record is 71-16. I'm feeling pretty good about things, man. But again, every week. So he wants to know, what would you say is each team's best win? Okay. So for that, I need to go to the schedules, and I've got them right here. Let's start with Alabama State. So he wants to know what would I say is their team's best win? To me, I think their best win probably Southern. I mean, because it was a road game. They went down there, or maybe FAMU. I mean, I don't know. That's what it looks like to me. And then if I go over here to Jackson State, the best win, I'd say Southern, or last week, or maybe even the game against Hampton. But also, I could also argue too, some of their best works also came in their losses. So, when Alabama State played UAB in the opener, they look really, really good against UAB. They pushed those boys to the limit. So, that's where I'll really go with that. But yeah, so back to this now. 8-2 was my record last week, and these are my winners of this week for those who may have just came in and saw. But I've got South Carolina State winning over North Carolina A&T in the G-Ho game. I got Hampton in a close one over Campbell. And then I've got those next 4 games that are homecoming battles, not even battles, homecoming games, if you want to call it, exhibitions. And then I've got SEMO over Tennessee State. I've got Southern, probably the one game this week that I felt the least confident about. One I felt the least confident about was Southern against Bethune-Cookman, because I just don't know if Tim McClain is going to be playing versus Cam Ransom. If Cam Ransom was definitely starting, then I would have picked it the other way. Plus, I think Southern really needs this game badly. I got Sacred Heart over Howard. I got Wofford in a close one over Norfolk State. I've got Grambling in a toss-up game over Texas Southern there in the hole. I've got A&M winning a close one over Valley. I think Valley's going to come to town and play really, really hard. So that's my answer to you, Sonic Boom. They're playing Valley. And then I got Central big over FAMU. And then you guys saw I closed it out with Jackson State winning over Alabama State. So, yeah, man, that's what we got. I love all of the energy here, and I love all of the great feedback here. I love that. Great analysis and breakdown. Thank you. Appreciate that. Said, come coach football, Wayne. Hey, man, I analyzed this stuff, man. But you know, one of the things that I needed to do for everybody here, man, I just really, really needed to, get folks, just come and show certain things. Said, Wayne, said we have the best game day grab. Hey, appreciate that. Appreciate that, Mr. Greenwood. Appreciate that. You got the Steelers hat on. That's who my Browns are playing this week, too. And said, you made the correct choice this week. Well, Whitley, I took a lot of grief for my choice last week. I went out on a limb, and that limb broke early. But, yeah, I said this week I'm getting in my bag, and I'm going to really, really get to it this week. He said, I see Wayne came to his senses this week. Listen, man, I thought I was in my right mind last week. But then I found out in the second quarter, I was like, well, this one went left real quick. But, yeah. All right. So lastly tonight, y'all, those are my winners. He said, who's QB2 for the Browns? You tell me, bro. You tell me. I don't know. You tell me, man. You tell me. So, man, he said, I'm invited to the tailgate. He said that limb burned up, burned up, and the ashes blew and over. Hey, listen, last week was last week. It's all over with. I'm here. We here. Last week was last week. Brother George, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody, man. So listen, what I want to say here tonight, man, for all you still watching, we got 163 people still watching. Well, it's actually going up. I see some folks that probably checking in that probably, just wanted to know, what it is, where I was going this week, man. Listen, I really wanted to just give y'all something great this week. And that's the commitment. He said, man, wow, Wayne Cartwright Berman. I love that, man. I got that from him because of the montage. He said, am I coming to Jackson this week? No, I'm going down to my alma mater, Alabama A&M. I'm leaving in the morning, our homecoming this week. But listen, while you say about Jackson, listen, if I don't get to Jackson this year, okay, I definitely plan on coming to Jackson. If not, if I don't get there this year, I plan on coming to Jackson. I want to come down there. I want to just meet some of these folks. I want to talk to some of y'all, man. I want to chop it up with y'all. I want to eat in some of this tailgate food. I want to just say that, I want to make sure that I get around to places in the SWAC. I want to get around to places in the MEAC too, man. Because y'all know, man, while Wayne loves this HBCU culture, man, I'm a fan of every single team, every single week, except if you're playing 4 hours and you're playing the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Other than that, man, I'm a fan of everybody. He said, plan on coming to the Celebration Bowl. Listen, I did the Celebration Bowl last year, and I've already got that together. I'm going to be at the Celebration Bowl again. I'll be doing some media there, so you definitely going to see me at the Celebration Bowl, okay? So, there it is. He said, come to the SWAC Championship. I would love to come to the SWAC Championship, but unfortunately, I'm also a track and field official, and my very first indoor track meet is the same day. So I would love to do that. And said, we need you on HBCU game day. Well, who subscribed to me is Stephen Gaither, who's HBCU game day extraordinaire. So, hey, Stephen Gaither, man, if you see me, bruh, hey, when I'm in Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl, man, hey, or whatever, man, hit your boy up, man. I'll go on. I'll talk to you. All Black said, I appreciate the consistency. Great show. Hey, man, appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. I do this because of y'all, man. I do this because of y'all, and I do this for y'all. So once again, here it is. These were my picks this week. If you missed them, but these are Wild Wayne's winners this week. Okay. So there it is. So Sunday night, your boy will be back with Sunday recap. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. in the Central, and I'm going to recap everything that happened in this week number 7. I'm going to really, really definitely break down everything that happened with that big one down there in Jackson. Okay? I'm not going to be able to watch the game live, but I am going to watch the replay when I get home from Alabama on Sunday. So before I hit the air on Sunday evening, I will have watched the game and I will have gotten my notes and will have chopped it up. And here's the thing too, man, with that schedule this week, where you're talking about Westgate Christian and, Lincoln and some of these other teams, man, listen, I've got plenty of time for y'all to talk about some of these games. And then also what will also happen too is there will be something crazy that'll happen as well. Okay. Because like we had the Hail Mary last week when Morgan State lost. That was crazy. We've always had some crazy stuff. And also, we'll also have some things that you did not see coming. Every week, somebody you thought was going to win definitely did not. So this week, I'm praying for my Bulldogs as we play Valley because Valley's going to be motivated. But y'all, love everybody. And if you're going to homecoming this week down there in Jackson, my alma mater of Alabama A&M, Alcorn, Delaware State, G-Ho, North Carolina A&T, all of these different homecomings, Grambling, you're going to homecoming, travel safe, y'all. Travel safe and be well, all right? I'll be back Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Hit the like button on the way out. Share this show with everybody. God bless everybody. See you Sunday. Peace.
Thank you for joining us on the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright. As you exit the ride, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the like button, and catch up on all of our prior episodes. Until next time, God bless.